What do you think like turned the or flipped the switch for you, or was it just like a long and slow process that just finally culminated?
Well, I like to start playing rank more seriously.
Okay, okay, okay. And with what prompted that? Was it just really wanting to hit masters, or just enjoying the game more, or what specifically?
I want to get to the point where I can, say that I'm decent or like just good, good at the game.
Yeah,
And I'm competitive. I play soccer in real life, and I'm really competitive in that, and
sure.
it's the same here. Translates here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Must be very late for you.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I need to not scream.
I feel
And
for
it's
you.
just
I feel for you. I feel for you. I was
yeah.
coaching an Australian team. I was like getting up at like 2:30 in the morning my time. I'm like, oh, it's actually brutal. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, okay. What do you hope to get out of the session? Information. What I need to do to improve on so that I can go into my next games with that in mind and overall understanding of how to play my heroes better. Doomfist Zarya. Okay. Why Doomfist Zarya? What got you? Is that like something you've been working at for a long time, or is it a more Overwatch 2
Well,
development, or what?
well, when I started playing Overwatch 2, a mate of mine started playing Doomfist, and I didn't really like him at first because that was season one where he was dog shit. And
Huh.
yeah, then I played him, and then started watching Zebra, and I was just like, I want to do that. I want to I want to be like that. So I one
Sure.
tricked him all the way up to masters, and then with Zarya, I don't know. I just played her once, and I find her as fun, if not more fun than Doomfist. And then I say in like the last month, no, like last 2 weeks, I started playing. I went on an old account, started playing her, got her to diamond, and then
Hmm.
I started playing her on my main. And I think, yeah, I definitely want this session to be more focused on Zarya
Okay.
because new character. I want to learn it better.
Yeah, seems good. Seems good. Okay, 3 to 5 hours a day. Goals are hit GM, stay there, potentially maybe stream when I get there. Short term goal though, figuring out what I need to do to improve and start playing better into counters so I don't get shut down instantly as soon as I get countered. Okay, sounds good. Maybe not something as much for Zarya because Zarya definitely feels like you can counter her, but it's like less obvious than like a Doomfist. But we can
Yeah,
talk about that when we get there. Now, when you say 3 to 5 hours a day, how is that time spent?
mostly in ranked, and
Okay.
sometimes I play quick play with friends, and I have this one friend that I play ranked with, but mainly I
Yeah.
just solo queue. Yeah, just
Okay.
solo queue. Yep.
Okay. Any warm up, any routine, or you just jump right in?
Um, I'm noticing. I used to do like a lot of aim training. I
Yeah.
used to do voltaic shit, and I'd do that for like an hour. But then I realized that's really not that, you know, not not very helpful. So then
Yeah.
I started slowly. It started to slowly, stop doing slower warm ups. Like warm ups aren't
Mm.
as long. Warm ups aren't as long. Like 15 minutes. It goes from like 15 like minutes to like almost not warming up at all, and just I'm just like trying to run it in ranked. I'm not
Okay.
trying to wait.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, 5 to 10 minutes is always helpful for consistency's sake, but it's even then it's not necessarily necessary if you don't mind a slower mechanical start on your actual play. I generally prefer even for tanks to have like a 5 to 10 minute warm up, just because of the rapid exposure. It's going to take you like a whole ranked game to actually warm up, the equivalent of like 5 to 10 minutes. So if it
Yeah.
doesn't bother
Yeah.
you, then that's fine. But maybe just optimally. But yeah, I mean, an hour of voltaic, as you said, is not the best. But it's a good way to get into it to like kind of get your aim started. But I think for Overwatch specifically. So okay, do you take
That's what I
breaks during those sessions? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
that's what I did at the start.
Yeah.
Because I actually just like got this PC like very recently. As I swapped from console to PC, and then I just
Why'd
started
you transition?
because I wanted a PC for a while, and I wanted to know what it's like to play on
Sure.
keyboard and mouse. It's much more
Sure.
fun in my opinion.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah, I started aim training a lot, and I slowly stopped doing it because
Okay.
my aim got to a decent spot.
Yeah, I mean it's a good tool for that. For that. Okay. And then do you take breaks? I guess was my question.
Um, Sometimes if I get really tilted, I might take a break, go eat something, and
Sure.
sometimes if I have a really bad one of games, I might like not play the next day and then come back the day after.
Okay.
That happened recently, but I don't know if that's good or not. But
It,
I
it, it
just
might
do
be
it.
necessary. It might be
Yeah, 'cause
necessary.
I got really tilted sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, it might be necessary, but what I would say is it's like the equivalent of getting sick. When you get sick, you need to take some time off, right? But you never look
Yeah.
at getting sick as like, I mean, optimally, you don't look at being sick as like, oh, it's just a necessary evil. I mean, of course, to an extent, yes, it's unavoidable. However, as much as you possibly can, you take your vitamins, you eat healthy, you get some rest, you get some exercise, all those kind of things, right? So I think the
Yeah.
same thing happens when you completely mentally boom. I wish I could say that's never happened to me. It has. it has. But also, as I got better at training and improving through not just Overwatch, but overall, I took measures that made that happen a lot less frequently. So let's put it this way. It's not good that you had to take a day off, but it's understandable. And so what you should look at is you should be like, okay, what steps did I go down that led to me completely mentally booming? Can I prevent that from happening again or make it happen a lot less frequently? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So how now you tell me, what do you think would work better for you? Because obviously I asked, taking breaks, but that's not the only thing. So are there any other measures that you think that might help prevent that from happening? Because you say you do occasionally, Till. I mean, especially if I play Doomfist, I would too.
No, yeah, it's bad. I don't know actually. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I just usually just go eat or just like watch YouTube or Twitch
Sure.
or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just
Sure.
like just other stuff.
Sure. What I would do, and I know this is probably like risking your life in Australia. Haha, funny. But I would try to go touch some grass.
Yeah,
Just get some sun, get some water, get away from the computer, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes. And what I like to do is I really, really recommend you doing that before you even get tilted. Maybe between every 2 or 3 games. Sometimes even between every game in queue, I get up and I just grab water and just stretch my legs for 60 seconds. You'd be shocked at how like little tiny habits like that, if done consistently before you get tilted, do minimize the chances or reduce the chances of you getting tilted. I think it's all about like the prevention, right? We talked about once you get sick, it's hard to get over being tilted besides just stopping, right? But can you prevent that from happening? And it's especially important for you because you are playing for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, even 3 hours is a long time to play doing one thing. So you need to try and manage your time, especially if your goal is to hit Grandmaster. It's not necessary to hit Grandmaster, but it's going to make it easier and it's going to make it a lot more enjoyable. That's the key thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Any questions so far?
No, not really. No questions.
Okay. What do you feel is holding you back from improving? Mechanics, game sense, playing into counters, Orisa or Sombra into Doom, Ryan into Zarya. I mean, yeah, Ryan is definitely one that we'll talk about, I'm sure. Anything else that comes to mind since you filled up the form? Because the counters we'll talk about, I'm sure. But
yeah, definitely. Nothing really.
Okay, sounds good. Now, when you say game sense, do you want to elaborate on that just a little bit? That's the one that doesn't make as much sense. What about game sense? There's just in general.
I think I wrote that mainly due to counters because a lot of the time, like if say I'm playing Zarya into Ryan, like I do what I think I'm supposed to do. Like I have to avoid him, but a lot of the times he's following me every single time, like, and I can't really get away from him. And it's just like I don't know what else I could really do better.
Sure,
Like,
sure. Okay.
Specifically.
Do you have a game like that saved replay code wise?
Yeah, I have 2 replays. One for mainly for Zarya and one for Doom. I want to focus on the Zarya one, but we can do both.
Okay, sounds good. You were saying something else. I think I might have interrupted you.
I forgot.
Okay, don't worry about it. If it comes up, holler. 7 hours for sleep, not terrible, not great either, especially for somebody who's putting a lot of demand on your brain. The best way to learn is to learn and then sleep. It's been scientifically proven over and over again, whether it's a mechanical thing like, dunking a basketball or flicking your mouse, or whether it's like learning how to quickly make a decision, memorizing a pattern. Sleep is how you improve that. And not just one night of sleep, but repeatedly. So if that's something that you can improve to 7.5 hours, highly, highly recommend it. I don't really see anything else in the form that stands out to me. Do you have any other questions about anything that we've discussed?
No.
Okay. Getting some gameplay?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I'll send you the code.
Let's do it.
this one has Zarya in it, but this one has mainly Zarya, but has a bit of Doom at the end.
Okay.
That's this one. I'll send you the other one as well.
Ready for battle.
Okay. So this is our Reinhardt friend, yeah?
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things that you're just going to have to kind of keep in mind is that and you've probably learned this with Doomfist, right? There's a lot of circumstances where you're going to have to put a disproportionate amount of work in the enemy tank.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're playing Genji into Moira, or Bastion, just how it is, right? Some characters are just a little bit easier. That being said, those characters may have more ways of expressing themselves so that if you're able to find those niches or find those details, you have a lot more ceiling with what you can work with, right? Now, I wouldn't necessarily describe Reinhardt as that. However, I will say on this map in particular, if I'm rolling out Reinhardt and they're on a Doomfist or a Wrecking Ball, I might wish I was on Zarya, right? Because she's somewhere in between. But if I'm rolling out on Zarya and I run into a Reinhardt on Nepal, there's a lot less space for me to play around him. Like you said, I want to avoid him, but I'm having a hard time doing that. Yeah, because it's Nepal. There's not a lot of places that you can go. So do the best that you can. But remember, you avoiding Rein isn't your only value. If anything, it's going to be very hard to avoid Reinhardt if he really wants to. He's got better mobility than you do, right? So he could chase you around a lot better than vice versa. But what other strengths do you have over Reinhardt? What is your value besides hitting people with a hammer?
Wait, sorry, say that again.
So what does Zarya provide value-wise besides just beaming?
A bit of heal, like with bubbles. If the Reinhardt just W keys at your backline, you can potentially save someone.
Sure.
And
sure.
Also, you're obviously able to bubble yourself and stop the Reinhardt from FP.
Sure. So you can kind of catch the aggression, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your damage output? Like, what is Reinhardt's biggest weakness, right?
Like a little bit of range.
Yeah.
And outrange him.
Yeah, you have a fairly significant range, right? It's not Sigma level, it's not amazing, but it is significantly better than Reinhardt, right? So when we talk about what are we leveraging versus the enemy team, it's going to depend. Is it going to be that peel? Is it going to be that poke? Is it going to be that brawling potential? I'm not really sure. But I would say unless you're playing versus the London Spitfire running Ryan May, I don't think you're necessarily cooked as soon as you're walking over the fight. I think you've got options here. Now, I want as much as possible you to try and coach yourself here. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to give you some insight, and I'm going to teach a little bit. So if there's any questions that you have, I want you to ask them. But I'm also going to be asking a lot of questions too. And so just let me know what you think. So first things first, is there anybody that you think you're going to be bubbling going in aggressively or bubbling who's going to get dove on or anything like that?
The Sojourn.
Could be. Anybody else?
The Bastion.
Could be, right? Going to depend, right? What makes a good bubble on a teammate? How do you know a bubble on a Sojourn or a bubble on a Bastion or a bubble on an Ana or EDRE is good? What are you looking for?
Like if they're aggressive or about to take damage.
And then what about yourself?
What about myself? Gets me charged.
Sure, but that's really a consequence of you bubbling well, right? You don't bubble for charge. The charge just happens if you bubble for what? What did you just say when you asked what would be a good bubble for Ana, what would be a good bubble for Sojourn? You said two things.
If they're about to die.
Okay, they're taking damage, right? Or
damage, being aggressive.
Right. So how do you bubble for yourself?
When you're going aggressive.
Or taking damage, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. One of the things that I like to say when I'm coaching with Zarya is I want you to earn your bubbles. I don't want you to look for opportunities to use your bubbles. I want you to look for opportunities to do damage. Mm-hmm. And what will happen is through that mindset, you will see opportunities to get charged because the opportunities to do damage are going to put you at risk and people are going to get mad at you. And when they get mad at you, they shoot you. And so what the bubbles do is they allow you to do damage and then they make you do even more damage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
And I
sense.
think that subtle shift, even if it just sounds like a couple of flip-flopping of words, will influence how you use your bubbles. So for example, right now, we need to ask yourself a question. Are you taking damage, serious damage, and are you going aggressively with either of these bubbles?
Yep, I'm going aggressive and use my bubbles to, keep playing aggressive.
Let me ask you a question. What have you done right now that you wouldn't otherwise already be able to do without bubble? Is there anything you've done right now that you couldn't do without a bubble?
I walk up.
Can you walk up without
Or
a bubble here?
you can, but it's kind of hard with Ryan like sitting right there.
Is it? What is Reinhardt doing damage to you right now?
No.
All right. Now that one may be a little bit of charge pre-fight, right? That first one. Kind of risky,
Yeah.
but whatever. But what about this one? Is this something that you would be incapable of doing without bubble?
Not capable because I got my healers behind me, and they're if you look at their team, they're kind of still back a bit. So
Right.
I think
Look at your
Ryan swings
HP.
can't hurt. Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So the funny thing is I would not say that this bubble is bad, but I would describe this bubble as a little bit early. Because what I want you to do is I want you to put yourself in an almost not a too aggressive a position, but really do damage. Allow them to punish you and then catch the punishment.
Okay, so take damage, then bubble. All right.
To do something aggressive first, then bubble is essentially what it is. Because then, even if you don't get a lot of charge out of it, you at least got a little bit of extra opportunity to do damage. Because if you wait a second before you bubble, that means that you could do an extra 1.5 seconds of damage on the Reinhardt. So ignore the charge for a second. You get to do more damage on the Reinhardt if you wait a little bit longer before you bubble.
Yeah,
Does that make
makes
sense?
Yeah,
Balancing that HP and balancing that aggression allows you to do more damage. Again, don't think about it as a charge. The charge is a consequence of doing the right thing. So obviously now the fight's starting and you used one bubble for charge on entry, which got you a little bit of charge. But would you prefer to be 41 charge and have a bubble right now? Maybe almost 2 bubbles right now. Or would you prefer to be 61 charge in your current situation?
I'd rather have 2 bubbles with lower charge
Why?
because it allows me to play more aggressive.
What's happening right now?
My teammates are playing a bit more aggressive than I am. And
The fight's starting, right?
fight's starting, yeah.
The fight's starting. And you've entered this fight without 2 bubbles. This kind of action here is acceptable in what circumstances? When is what you just did right now acceptable?
Like, when there's no real risk. I guess the fight's not exactly starting yet.
So what's the cooldown of a bubble, right?
It's 8 seconds.
Right. So when we talk about when is a bubble good, when is a bubble bad, if we look at your personal bubble, we need to be asking ourselves, how soon until I'm going to need this again? Right? How soon until you need this again? I actually think it's 10 seconds, I want to say. I think it might be actually 10 seconds.
I think they in the latest patch they made it so that it's 8 seconds.
I think that was just for projected barrier there, no? Maybe I'm wrong.
Pretty sure. I mean, I think the cooldown, if you look in the bottom right, it goes the same regardless.
Interesting. I'm fairly certain the ones that use an ally regenerate faster. It doesn't matter, regardless, though, right? You need to be confident that I'm going to get this back in time for the fight starting. And as you can see now,
I don't have it.
you need this bubble like right now, like right now, if you want this Bash to be able to do what he needs to do. So that's the thing. It's okay to fish for bubbles energy early. When and what circumstances?
When I have like, the fight isn't gonna start until like 8 seconds, then I can have both bubbles back.
When you have time, when you have a few extra seconds.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Unfortunate. Let's keep going. Now, be honest with me here. Do you think that you could get away with a bubble here and have 2 when you need it?
I think so. I think I can bubble now and sort of like not it won't be ready, but like it'll be like almost ready when the fight
Uh-huh.
starts around.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I agree. I think you got a couple of seconds. All right.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I definitely play more towards charge when I'm like, you know,
But
more towards getting charged.
right, right. And you see the irony how that will prevent you from doing more damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will allow you to right click at range more for more bushy big explosions, right? But in terms of actually, I don't know what the bushy thing was. I have no idea. But regardless, like it's gonna prevent you from like right now fights starting. You really can't take an angle and push up here, even just a little bit, because you don't have a bubble. So now this is what we're doing, right?
I think I'm looking at my teammates to get more charge. You know.
Right, which is smart.
More.
Which is smart. But I in this position here, I think I would be trying to walk forward and put a little bit of pressure on, you know? But that would be obviously risky, missing a bubble. So I appreciate, okay, so you have a little bit of a habit here, which I want you to point out. Let me know if you see, what do you think about this trade right here? Putting out a little bit of damage. What do you think about that exchange?
I think it's a decent exchange because you can see I waited a bit, wait for it to take damage, and then I bubbled her.
It's a great bubble, yeah.
And the Ryan went over to the Sojourn, and then now I can kind of walk forward, even though I don't really have a bubble. But
Right,
I do.
right. What's your job as Zarya? What's your primary job as a tank? Let's just put it that way.
I guess to create, take, and hold space. I guess
How do you create space?
by being a threat to like the enemy team.
How do you be a threat?
By pumping out, by pumping out damage and
Okay.
using your cooldowns to do so.
Now, using your metric here, do you see why we might have a potential problem with what's happened the last 5 seconds?
Yeah, I do.
Right?
I don't have any bubbles, so now I can't create space, to do shit.
Even here, right? A little bit of a pull, I get it. But here's a very interesting question. Why do the Reinhardt and Bastion go back to peel off the Sojourn? She's going aggressive, right? But you know why they don't respect what's happening in the front line right now? Because this is where they're looking right now, right? Because there's nothing happening on the front line.
Yep.
You see this? So then you go, oh, I'm glad I was there to bubble my Sojourn. She would have died if she had not gotten bubble. But the reason why she needed bubbles because you were AFK.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, this is where Zarya is hard, right? Because you might go into this fight and be like, I play aggressively, and then they go aggressive on my backline, and I can't bubble them at the same time. And that's the difficulty here. But I think that this is why we have a hierarchy, right? Your number one job is to do damage. Number one job. Because that's, as you said, that's what makes space. That's what makes you a threat. And then along that lines, if you see an incapability to get value out of your bubbles or out of your aggression, or you cannot do damage, that's when your attention shifts towards peeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I'm doing damage, that damage will be the peeling for my team because it will demand attention. If I'm not doing damage, that's when I focus on peeling because I can't do damage. For example, if you're playing versus, like, let's say a Winston, Kiriko Lucio, and they just dive your backline, right? As you're leading up to the fight, those characters are hard to do damage to, right? They're very mobile, very slippery, hard to reach, right? So then what's your priority?
To peel off my backline.
Sure, because there's not a lot of damage opportunities here. But then even as soon as you get those bubbles out to peel, your priority immediately reverts back to doing damage because now you can actually do damage to them because they're actually close enough to do damage to. So right now it's like, I look at this, and the best thing that you could have done for your Sojourn right now is to keep shooting, just bubble yourself, and keep going, and keep going, and keep going. that would have enabled your Sojourn so much more than a bubble on her. Because the problem with the bubble on her is she still has to leave. You see this? Whereas if you are putting pressure on front, she may not need to leave this angle, even though she doesn't get bubble. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So everything about you, and then by the time that you actually are ready to push now, they've got their cooldowns, their Bastion turret again, and you have to start all over again. Damage, 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 damage. Always damage. As much as you possibly can. With cover, at max range, at short range, whatever you need to do. What do you think about this bubble here?
I think it's alright considering the fact that I have another bubble, ready to go.
Look at your HP.
I've taken a lot of damage.
Yeah, it feels earned, right? You didn't get a lot of charge out of it, but it did allow you to keep doing damage when you were low. So I think it's a fine bubble, right? Is this bubble allowing me to play aggressively or absorb damage? Yes, it didn't absorb a lot of damage, but it allowed me to play aggressively because otherwise I would have backed away. Now, what should you do right now?
W key, do damage.
Keep doing more damage. You have another bubble, keep doing more damage. Now, at the extent you're going to have to read how much healing you get, right? How low they are, and go from there. But let's keep going. Keep going.
This is why I hate facing up to the right.
There's one small mistake you made here. One small mistake. Just one. What's the mistake?
Maybe pushing up too far.
Where's your cover?
There's no cover at all.
I know you're kind of pursuing backline here, but just all your job is to do damage. There's obviously a little bit of a target priority, but one of the really nice things with Zarya that you've probably realized is that your tank matchup isn't even that bad, and you have a little bit of range. So right-click these guys, or if you want to push to this cover here, or if you want to stay, hold this here. My point is that all I want you to do is find cover and keep shooting. Find cover and keep shooting. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can live with that. I can live with that. You still win your team the fight, so.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions so far?
No, not really.
Now, you need to be careful now. No bubbles. Understandable for both of them. But you can't do as much damage as maybe you would have liked. Obviously, I think you're fine in terms of man advantage. But you need to be careful at that point in time. Okay, let's see what we got here.
Yeah,
Will you have your bubbles back in time?
Nope, definitely not.
Was it worth the 45 charge or 40 charge?
No, it was not.
It's tricky because you will get a second bubble, but you know what? The funny thing is again, is while you're doing this, are you doing damage?
Nope, I'm not doing
No,
damage.
you even bubble and you don't even shoot. You just stand here. You know, the funny thing is like people don't will shoot you because you're big and fat and muscular. But you know what people really shoot is people that shoot them back because it scares them, and so they have to hit at something, right? So if you want to increase the amount of charge that you're getting, shoot back. Shoot these right clicks. Get something out of that bubble, right? Even the bubble on Bastion, right? You're thinking, well, that's not a bubble on me, so I can't do damage. Are you sure? What do you think they're going to do versus a bubble Bastion?
They're gonna back up or shoot him.
They're going to shoot him or they're going to back up. That's more opportunity for you to do more damage. So it doesn't matter if you're peeling for a bubble. It doesn't matter if you're pushing with a bubble for yourself, for a teammate. The bubble is what allows you to do damage, whether it's on you or on somebody else. Do damage. Do damage. So much opportunity here. I mean, look at your ult charge here. Now, I understand Grav is a very difficult ultimate charge, especially when you're doing a lot of time on Rhine Shield, but, And then now you have to give up space because you don't have any bubbles. Let's look at this one here. What do you think of this bubble?
I mainly use this bubble so that I could push forward and maybe not get stuck by the Ana.
Okay.
It was mainly just to kill the Bastion, you know.
Did you do damage off of that bubble?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bubbled and then I walked forward and did some damage to the Bastion.
Did it? Was it in response? Did you push with the bubble, or were you being pushed with the bubble?
Kind of being pushed, and then as soon
Yeah.
as Bastion saw that I turned around to look at him, he backed up.
Yeah. So what do you think of this bubble?
It was, I don't know, it was kind of mid, to be honest.
But still better than any bubble we've seen so far.
Yeah, definitely better than all the other.
To me, I look at this and I look at your HP, and I'm like, I get it. I get it. And you know what? It does put a little bit of pressure on these guys, prevents them from walking forward just a little bit. Probably not. I wouldn't say it's a good bubble, but it's okay. Now, you just bubble. Wait. Oh, that was so confusing.
Yeah.
I'm like, Overwatch 1?
That's
That's actually wild. But obviously, you see how much space you have lost.
Yeah, I see that.
A lot of people confuse the idea that like you bubbling for charge is bubbling selfishly. But do you see how that's fundamentally flawed? We're not discouraging you for bubbling for yourself, bubbling for charge. The bubble for charge, if it's done too late, is a bubble that hurts you more than anybody else. Because it means that you cannot play the game when it matters.
Yeah, I do. Now that I think about it, I do notice that a lot. When I double bubble to begin out, I all the time I'm just sitting there AFK waiting to get my bubbles back.
You
And
turn
now
into
I
a
think
worse
about it,
Sigma
I'm
without a
like,
shield. Is what you do.
Yeah, true. Yeah, now that I think about it, I noticed that happens a lot
Yeah.
in my games.
Yeah. And that's probably why you struggle so much for Reinhardt, not only because he's good versus you, but because he can immediately push you without bubbles. Immediately punish that mistake. Obviously, no bubbles here. And again, like, are you going to want to push at any point in time? Maybe not soon. Okay. Do you think good or bad? Maybe middle? What do you think?
I think it's obviously like the Ryan is really close, so if he engages on me, I'm not gonna have it. But I think it's alright because it's still pretty much just pre-fight.
I would agree. And you still have that bubble in your pocket just in case things go poorly. Seems okay to me. You know, even that bubble there, right? If your Bastion gets slept here, is it the end of the world? You know?
Not really.
Not really. Now, you bubbled him because he started to take some damage, and I understand. But you actually waited until he got slept first. It's funny, but you're like, as bad as this feels, there you go. Now, you've got Grav, double bubble. Cook him.
Yeah.
Right now.
W here.
Nice. Good, right?
Yeah.
You didn't necessarily need it, but the double bubble gave you confidence that you needed to actually press forward. Ha! You know what you know what? Honestly, this early in a fight, not even that bad. Right? I think you can get him back in time. Now you are vulnerable to shatter here. Oh, do some damage with it. Do some damage. Let's go. Yeah, no bueno there.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Too soon. Too soon. Right. I want double bubble int on this Lucio solo graph. You know, I want double bubble so that I can frontline trade with this Reinhardt. Wait, is he just not? Oh, well, that was kind of him. Okay, any questions so far?
No.
What are you seeing? It's been pretty two-dimensional, yeah? What are the mistakes that need to be cleaned up here?
I need to stop, using my bubbles just to get charged. I need to make sure I have bubbles for when the fight starts.
Well, be specific, right? Because you've used a couple of bubbles for charge that have been very good. What was wrong with the ones that were bad?
I bubbled too late, and then I couldn't have the bubbles back when I start engaging or when I have to engage.
Late poke bubbles. Okay. What else? That was the big one. Late poke bubbles, and then what was the second thing?
I need to play cover, better when I push up.
See, I didn't even think about that one. That's a third one. Yeah, agreed. But what's your priority, Zarya? Number one priority. Do damage. Yes. Let's keep going. Any questions?
No.
Okay.
I'm pretty much getting everything so far.
What I would describe Zarya is she's like a Winston Tracer kind of a hero, where the hero is very, very, very simple. But applying those simple concepts can be very difficult, if that makes sense. There's a lot of nuance to it. So if you understand what we're talking about right now, you're at a huge head start. You have all you need to know to be top 500. All you need to do is actually apply in different circumstances, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty.
You see, I double bubbled here. Now, you know, the Zen kind of died for it. If I had the bubble, I could have saved them.
Right. And you could have saved them either through actually burning this Reinhardt and pushing forward into the Bastion. You see the Bastion? You could have walked forward yourself and just double bubbled yourself. Beat the crap out of that Reinhardt. A discorded Reinhardt with an 80 charge Zarya, which, by the way, you would have gotten that 80 charge at the best possible time, which is when?
Like when I'm gonna W key the Ryan.
Exactly.
Down.
Exactly. You'll notice that by doing the bubbles this way, you'll build the charge when you need it the most, right? You'll lose a little bit of poke charge, but you'll build it. You'll have the charge mid-fight instead of it decaying mid-fight. So yeah, right now, either you could bubble your Zen and bubble yourself and burn the Rhine. You could double bubble yourself in front of the Bastion and just murder the Reinhardt and ego because you have the double bubble. It doesn't matter what way you look at it, right? But you're right, 100%. You know?
Yeah.
Wait a second here. That ability, man. That's crazy. Love it.
Now I'm noticing it so much now.
Now, you got to be really careful now because you're thinking like, oh, I can use one. It's fine. It's poke a little bit early. But you got to remember as well, first off, their echoes coming back from spawn. But also, as you're rolling out, do you see your team's positioning here? I don't know if you did before as you're walking up. Look at your Sojourn. I also don't know if you saw your Zen flanking, which is really important. Like your Zen needs to get out of the choke, right? So you're thinking, oh, I'll just get a little bit of poke here, a little bit of poke here, a little bit of poke here. But stop what you're doing right now. The fight is going right now. You must push right now. Crap.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that Zen was there.
It's smart from him. He like going out at the choke here is really bad. You need to kind of cheese it a little bit. But obviously, like if you're using both bubbles for poke, that's a good bubble right there. Then you can't actually do anything. You can't push to save your Zen, or you can't bubble to save your Zen. You do I love your attention to detail, and that you check your teammates. But I do want you to be a little bit more aware of like even just what composition you're playing into, and where and what those threats are. Right now, I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, Echo, I need to keep an eye on her. But man, I'm playing very aggressively on myself. There's no Tracers flanking around. There's no Summers flanking around. I need to be doing damage. Doing damage. Okay, yeah. Damage. You have 2 bubbles right now. Keep going. You're not that low. Keep going. Push for the bubble, right? Push the bubble. Go. Do damage. Damage. You see, even here, I know it's Reinhardt, but you see his shield is low, right? You see that he is low, right? You see that you have 90 charge and double bubble ruin him, right? End his career, right?
Yeah.
Maybe still play cover, right? I'm not saying just run into his face, still play cover, but end this man's whole career. Good bubble. 2 bubbles, so let's go.
Yeah, I do.
Oh my, this guy's has to be dead. Like, it is actually criminal that Bastion is not dead. Like, you have such an advantage here. Look at how well you've played this, right? A little bit of overhealth, you've got double bubble, 90 charge, and this guy is totally by himself. Mate, get him. He needs to die. He must die. Nice shot, by the way, finishing with the right click there. I caught that.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that more.
Yeah, I respect it. Okay, let's go. I like this little rotation here. Get closer to him. Let's go. Get her. I mean, she's cooked.
This is cool. I like this.
Oh! Oh my gosh. You're insane. Nicely done. That's so good. That's so good. Now keep going. Keep going. Ego. Now, is this better than peeling back the Reinhardt?
I think so because it's one Ryan against the whole team, and one Ryan without heals is kind of useless.
Sure.
Especially since we have a bash in the defensive heal.
There you go. Needed both of those bubbles. Now you're back in. Let's go.
I think that scared me when I was playing. I was like,
dude, that scared me now. That's terrifying. I just twitched. Oh my gosh. That's okay though. You got a bubble. Nice, dude. This is such a good fight from you. I'm telling you, do you notice like it's like almost you get in your way. You have like all these like weird habits where you're like constantly looking at your teammates even though there's not a lot of dive threat, or you're like very hesitant to bubble for yourself, or you bubble for poke. But do you notice as soon as this fight devolved and you were just playing deathmatch, running around the map, bubbling for yourself, do you notice how you legit just hard carried?
Yeah, I see that.
Did a good job. It's a great fight from you. Perfect bubbles. Every single one, once you got out of that ship, was perfect. Okay. Maybe okay. 1.5 into a fight isn't terrible, but even then you only got like 10 charge out of it, and you don't have 2 now, so I'm a little sus. Now I don't love that grab.
Yeah, I think I tried to grab the backline, but he put up the shield right as I was about to do it. Because I think because I wanted the Bastion to obviously kill
combo.
Supports.
Yeah.
Yeah, combo. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll cut you some slack. The execution was really bad. Intention was whatever, you know. Let's check this bubble here. Obviously, Bastion ult, sure. You got a bubble. Understandable. Cover. Yeah, it's just a bad graph, that's all. Honestly, I don't think you played this fight too poorly. And it's still theoretically winnable. Okay, yeah, no. Never mind. I lied. It's still like one of those situations where like the only thing I'm second guessing besides obviously the graph and needing 2 bubbles here. So first off, you'd have 1.5 bubbles now. There's the bubble there. And you'd have 1.5 bubbles now. Right? And you'd still be at 100 charge. So I think if nothing else here, like obviously I'm kind of wondering if you should have bubbled your Bastion there or not. He looked like he was already dead. But you know what? Why are we even having that conversation? You should have 2 bubbles right now. You should have 2 bubbles. One, and then the second, you would probably, honestly, even if you didn't live this, you would get the Reinhardt so much. You would probably force Shatter. Is Shatter what kills your team? Okay, either way. Whatever. Not as concerned with what's going to win the fight. We just want good habits. Understandable bubble. Also, actually an understandable bubble as well. You took some serious damage. You had to push. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing you can really do, right? So, is this the Doomfist? Okay, do you want to look at some Doomfist? Or do you want to look at the other code?
Yeah, we can look at some Doomfist.
Okay.
I mean, the other code's Doomfist as well. So.
Okay, Zarya. What needs to be practiced? 3 things. Number 1 priority.
When pushing in, doing damage at all times.
Do damage as much as possible. From number 2.
I need to make sure I have 2 bubbles at all times.
Yep.
Well, not at all times, but when I need it.
Okay. So, avoid late poke bubbles. Bubbles are for doing damage yourself, or enabling someone else to do damage. How about those 3 steps? What do you think?
Yeah, that seems good.
Practice this one at a time. I think it's all about the early fight for you. If you can get the ball rolling, I think you're going to be a much better Zarya. But it's some of the habits with your cover, and dependency on looking at your teammates, which is such a weird thing for me to say, but it's true. I think being aware of your teammates and playing around them is important, but do damage. Number 1 priority, do damage. Okay, Doomfist time. Now, you want to look at this one, or do you want to look at the other one?
I think I kind of steamrolled on this one, even though I played into an Orisa, but I think I still kind of steam. So we can do the other one
Okay,
where I
sounds
played
good.
into Orisa Sombra. I think. Yeah, I know. I see it overwhelmed Doomfist. I just think
Yeah.
that's what I see.
Ready for battle.
Yeah.
Ready.
God gives his toughest battles to his strongest children. So, I would ask you what Doomfist is good at, and we'd go down a long philosophical discussion, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to assume that you already know, and I will critique based off of what I see. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
All right. Take a look. Very nice. This feels pretty far. I'm not going to lie with you. I would love for you to find a way to consistently stage with just a little bit more proximity, if that makes sense. So open this one up for me. You tell me.
I think maybe going up to that high ground and then maybe engaging from there.
I think so too. How would you engage from here?
Maybe like slam like onto the back of the soldier.
Sure.
You know, can't really drop punch and punch the arm or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree. Works for me. Proximity. I think this character is so complex in terms of engage. It's more about like setting basic rules for yourself and the critiquing when you broke those rules and asking yourself why, And I assume that was because I saw my tracer in and you felt like you needed to go. But yeah. You should die here.
Yeah. I kind of walk I get pinned. I kind of walk forward. I don't know why I didn't just completely back up there.
I think even here you probably should be hacked for this and probably die regardless, right? You could get if you get hacked or slept here or pinned, any three of those lovely crowd controls, you're dead. Because you have no secondary ability, right? And not only do you have no secondary ability, you don't always need a secondary ability to outplay CC, but you do need a wall.
Yeah, I need cover.
You're too far from that cover here. If anything, you'd greed like this corner here and then check in, if that makes sense, but you're too far. Not teaching you anything here that you don't already know, but it has to be executed on, See here, for example, why do you feel so confident that you're going to get away with this?
I don't really know, to be honest. I guess it's because I have wait a minute. Let me watch a bit more. I guess because I have secondary. Maybe I might have secondary ability to escape.
Yep. You have your block.
Block, but then again, there's hack and sleep dart.
But that's okay. If you get slept or hacked right now, you're fine. You're not going to die 520 HP. It's not going to happen. You're going to stand here. You're going to get hacked. You're going to get slept, and then you're going to block, and then you're going to be fine. And you have so much HP behind it too, right? So in addition to that, what did you just see here? You know what I'm saying?
Sleep dart.
Well, pen too, right? Pen.
As well. Yeah.
So that just took something off the plate. So that all of a sudden your aggression can be tuned up. The way I look at Doomfist is it's like there's always at least like 75 trillion different plays that you can make. So what you do is you categorize, you shift your level of aggression depending on the status of three things: your cooldowns, your HP, and enemy cooldowns. And then obviously you can throw in some things like, playing cover is always smart. But right now, you've seen one cooldown at least off the table. Your HP is healthy, and you have an escape route. You can do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. Okay? It's like right now, I find this not necessarily silly, but extremely risky. Why?
Because I don't have my escape tool.
Right. 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 So you'll probably get away with it, but you're down 1 out of the 3. I assume that they're still down their cooldowns. Well, actually, really, you don't know the status of hack at all. So obviously, split the difference there. And sure enough, it feels terrifying, right? Obviously, that's just a whiff. But you could kind of see how that sets you down. Like, okay, 2 mechanical miscues in a row are the big takeaways. I'm not going to lie with you. But if you're going to go in that aggressively, when you're down your defensive escape, your cycle, you better darn well hit the cooldown. No excuse for missing 2 in a row. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah.
HP, fine. Status of enemy cooldowns.
I have no idea.
Oh, no idea. So if you're going to engage here, and I know you're going to engage here, how do you engage? Where do you engage?
I think I try to get around the middle thing. I slam or something like around it to
Sure.
get access to the Ana.
Sure. But you're going to need cover, correct? Because you don't know what's going on here. So what do you think? I mean, she's low, I get it, but what do you think?
Not great, because that's over sleep. So if I get slept in that, if I pins it, then I probably just die.
Right. Now, but wait a second. When we talk about status of cooldowns, what's another cooldown? I mean, I guess it's a really, really long cooldown in the middle of your screen, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's your get out of jail free card. So that turns this from a probable feed into a play that's fine, right? Ha, love to see it. Send them back to the grave where they belong.
Yep. I think they swap. No, not yet. They swap Orisa soon, I think. Yeah.
Ult tracking is important.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if they want to use 3 ultimates to kill you,
Yeah.
we'll choose our battles elsewhere. Let's put it that way. Yes, you could have outplayed that, but also like, whatever. Yeah.
The hell.
Yeah. I mean, I think she was dead either way, but yeah. Okay. Nice. Good idea. Just poorly executed. Even here, your priority is your life right now. As soon as you see this, you know. Nice. Yeah, this is good. Okay, let's keep going. Ah, the fun swap.
I don't understand how anyone finds Orisa fun.
Problem?
My slam isn't exactly ready, but I'm about to get ult though. That was my whole mentality here. Go in, get ult, and then, live.
How? How are you going to get your ultimate?
By, doing damage to the Kiri or the Diana.
Okay.
And they all turn on me. Yeah, I'm dead. I think my whole plan in this fight was to get ult, but I kind of just got lost when I punched in.
Here's a question. Is this the best spot for you to be?
No, not really.
Like you talk about ultimate, right? Where could you be?
I could get on the high ground.
Okay. What would the high ground allow you to do?
I have access to the back line while also being, avoiding the Orisa.
Sure. Something to consider. Because I understand that there are still cooldowns in the backline that you have to deal with, but if you're just going to go in hot, blow a bunch of cooldowns, I don't see any reason why you should be here. Because you could shoot the Orisa, you could play with the Orisa all as much as you like, but like ultimately here, and then even here, it's like, okay, your goal was, I had ultimate, but you punch in blind, and you can see the problem here. It's like, I have ultimate. Well, do you? What are you shooting right now, right? The backline's gone. You don't even know where they are. I mean, you didn't see this for sure, right? So you're kind of standing here with your tail between your legs going, okay, well, what now, right? What do I do now? They're gone, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of a game plan will go a long way. And then
I do that
obviously,
a lot.
go ahead.
I kind of just go in without sort of having a plan. I know I need to stop that, but I think I noticed that a lot. I just go in.
Yeah, yeah.
To go in on a backline, go in a backline, but then I kind of forget about the escape route or anything like that.
Yeah. I think that's really, really important because to me, it's like this character is so instinctual, right, and so fast. But you only develop that speed through practice and like. So I think you go into this fight and you go, let me try and go for backline. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and get a slam and then punch out to cover to avoid sleeper hack, and then maybe go back in again and then use my ultimate. And what you do is you practice that engage a lot until it gets to be like kind of instinctual, right? I mean that's where you are right now. Is a lot of these your actions are instinctual, but like this action right now. This is an autopilot engage, and it just looks terrible. Like, honestly, you should have died even sooner than this. I don't know if you knew this, but... Right? I mean, you should have died even faster than this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And obviously, tank experience, but you put zero thought into this engage whatsoever. See, that's the irony here, is like, we all hate Orisa because she puts zero thought into her engage, and yet you just put zero thought into your engage, and you expected a different result. I mean, they committed Kitsune Rush. You guys committed nothing. What do you expect was going to happen? You know? I mean, even this, right? Your Moira's dead. Your Tracer's dead. What do you think's going to happen? You know?
Yeah.
It's not going to change the result. Do you take more effort to get the same result? Yes, obviously. But that doesn't excuse zero effort. Like right now, for example, okay, there's the EMP. There's the power block. What's the plan right now? What's the plan? Do you have a plan?
I think because I planned to. I think I slammed in and then tried to punch them on the wall to the right, and then
Sure.
he just strike.
Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm just letting the next session know that I'm running over a little bit. But yeah, this is fine. See, this is a plan, you know? Like, this is a plan. Like, you clearly had something in mind. You had to think quickly, but this gives you an engage over the Orisa, easy access to backline. You're going to do a quick punch and the ultimate, right? You miss the punch, you get the shot, you dodge the pulse bomb, and you know what? It freaking works, right? It works. You just bypass 3 quote-unquote counters. Great job. She's nanoed. Let's get to that. Oh, there's hack. You can block this if you want to. Good. She's dead. And there you go. It didn't always feel super fun. It wasn't always executed super mechanically well, but you had a plan. You had a plan. And it looked good. It looked good. Let's see this. Get her. Oh, cooked. Nice. Counter, by the way. Yeah, I think given the time that we've had to look at your Doomfist, which unfortunately isn't a lot, I think that's going to be your easiest to act on is 3 things that you got to consider. Which are what? 3 things to consider when thinking about an engage.
Enemy cooldown status.
Enemy cooldowns. What else?
The plan.
The plan, which what I would say your CDs, right?
Yep.
And your HP, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have a plan. Don't go in blind. Try things. Adjust depending on comp, situation. Have a plan. That's why people like Zebra are so good because, I mean, you've seen them make all these plays around hero picks and around cooldowns. It's not just mechanical competence. It's applying the right mechanical rollout or the right decision depending on the situation. And that's what you need to practice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Any questions?
No, nothing.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, nothing.
Nothing? Okay.